All right, so first of all, thank you all for coming to MEHA 2021. As you can see, all of this is a bit experimental. It's a bit of a work in progress, and we're trying out Gather for a variety of reasons, which I'll talk about in a minute. But first of all, thank you for coming, and thank you for making it into this space, this plenary space that we'll share for the next few days. So I will ask, some kindness and patience as we sort out some of the bugs, and it's all new to all of us. So we'll see how it goes. I'm Peter Bradley. I'm the current president of MEHA. I'm the director of the honors program at Ferris State University, where I've been for almost 8 years, and I've been involved in honors for probably 15. I used to teach in honors at a different institution. So the theme for this conference, as you know, is utopia. And utopia is a complicated concept because it doesn't really mean the good place like most people think it does. That is the Greek combination would be utopia. The original formulation of it from Thomas More, who coined the term, is just a utopia, and that means literally no place. It's the negation of place or nowhere. So the first utopia that Thomas More is credited with writing about really was not meant to be a perfect society. It was a thought experiment, a what if, an opportunity to think through the way things could be by pointing out how things are not, is one way of saying it. So utopias, in this sense, are not meant to be realized in the actual world. They're thought experiments. They're counterfactual reasoning structures. I'm a philosopher, so I say things like that. That hold up a mirror to the world to show how it could be different. So it's the very fact that these utopias are nowhere. They're not existing that makes them interesting and different. They violate the rules of existing social structures and therefore hold up a mirror to those rules and question whether or not they should be at all. This past year that we've all been, living through, COVID, has meant that we've all learned to live in very different ways. The social rules that we grew up with have been broken in some respects and changed. And so it's very natural for us to feel very differently about the way things are and the way things should be. When we're in these electronic spaces that we've been forced into, we use these metaphors of space often. I just did. But they're not actual spaces, right? We talk about breakout rooms in Zoom and we talk about workspaces in Slack, but these aren't spaces. They're not literally space. They're communications connections. They are literally nowhere. This platform, Gather.Town, is a perfect demonstration of this spatial metaphor in electronic communication. This is essentially a video conferencing platform. It allows us to connect to each other through voice and audio, but it mediates those connections through this metaphor of space. It gives this spatial relationship to connecting so that you and avatars, as they get closer, can talk to one another. As they get further away, you fade out. There are rooms throughout this space like this where there's a spot in the center where you can broadcast to everybody. And there's other rooms where there's private spaces. And I'll show you what those look like in just a minute. But it's very natural for us to walk around and gather and to have these kinds of informal conversations that we've been missing for the last year. But the thing is, there's no actual physical space here, right? We're still in our own rooms. We're not in the same physical space. So when I first started building this room, which is the first one I built in Gather, I first started building a room for the plenary session, and I looked at the samples that Gather had provided, and they all were a stage in the front and a screen behind you and a bunch of people in rows in front. And I thought, okay, that's fine. And then I started working on it and thought, why are we all facing in the same direction? There's no screen here. There's no actual screen. No one's going to have a bad view of the speaker. And so I started playing around and I came up with this, in the round format, because no one's blocked by the screen. And it allows us to break some of the rules that we are building upon. So while we use these metaphors and we hang out with one another and next to one another and chat, we also can break them in some interesting ways. That's what I really like about this. This assumes a spatial metaphor, but it gives us the power to violate those in ways that violate the rules of the spatial metaphor in ways that selectively violate our basic assumptions. I'll say that I've tried, in building this space, I've tried to keep it mostly sane. There's no, really crazy stuff in here. But I've left a few Easter eggs for you to discover. The entrances, for example, the entrances and exits of the poster room are not linearly, I'm saying this word problem, are not connected directly to the utopia space that we're in. They are, the entrances go to one part of the space and the exits go to another. Don't worry, you'll figure it out. It's not too complicated. And most of the doors in this space are set up so that if you enter on the left side of the door, you come into the next room on the left side of the door, but not all of them. And some of them you might have some fun with. So here's a little bit more about what we're doing, where this design came from. This design is based on a work that I uncovered from 1841 by someone named Robert Owen. He was a part of the New Harmonists movement, the same movement that founded utopian societies across the U.S., including, you might have heard of one at Oneida, New York, which went on to become a silversmith. So Oneida Silverware was once a New Harmonist retreat. But he proposed in 1841 a new utopian town that was going to be built in New Harmony, Indiana. And New Harmony, Indiana is, of course, in the MEHA district. This is the image that was included in the original publication of that sketch. And so this is what I used to build this space. You should recognize it. The space, as you see, is just a big square. We started in the middle of the north wall, and that's where the check-in desk was. On each of the four corners stands a college, in his words, dedicated to the scientific formation of a superior character, the physical, intellectual, moral, and practical, from infancy to maturity. So the colleges are named after the four things they teach. They're named physical, intellectual, moral, and practical. The presentations will happen in the Northeast, Northwest, and Southwest colleges. The Southeast corner, the Practical College, will hold the service and cultural events tonight. I did include one of our little Easter eggs. There's a secret teleportation system that will get you from college to college very quickly if you have to switch sessions. It's well labeled. In the middle of the east and west sides, you'll see the little buildings that stick out in the middle there. The middle of the east and west side squares have a large building, and that's the entrances to the poster session. You can enter from either side, you go to the same place. The small buildings in front of those, which in Robert Owen's original plan were boiler rooms, we've turned into game rooms. So the east and the west side are game rooms. Right now, the one on the east is set up for group games. There's tables that hold 6 to 8 people. And the one on the west is set up for tonight's City is Quest challenge. And that will be happening at 8. We've also created some entertainment areas in the grassy areas in the front of each of the colleges. So in the northeast corner, there's a bunch of games that are set up that are sort of 2-player games and set up like chessboards across the park. There's also a playable piano up there that you can play with. There's a watch party set up with blankets and a projector in the southeast corner, and that will be for tomorrow night. And we've put in a labyrinth in the northeast corner if you want to meditate a little while and walk the labyrinth. It's a nod to the contemporary residents of New Harmony, Indiana that have a famous labyrinth. At the bottom of your screen, you should see a little taskbar. The first item on that lets you change your avatar. If you're not happy with your avatar, you can change it. There's not that much selection, but you can have a little fun with that. And then the next thing is your status, your status in your name. It's a good idea to put your title of your talk in your name. You'll see mine says Peter and then president of MEHA. If you put the title of your talk when you're speaking or during your poster session in there, then people can find you really easily. And I'll show you how to do that in just 1 second. The next is the status. Anything you put there will appear under the participants list. Sorry, I should have fast forwarded here. I haven't been doing this. I had these slides and I didn't even do them. So this is the center where you entered, right? And here are this is where we are. This is the plenary building and where our plenary will be tomorrow night. This is intellectual. This is physical. This is moral. And this is practical. And then here are the entrances to the poster session there. And this is the boardroom. And the game rooms here on the side, there and there. Okay.